Can you please call the hearing number for the record?
This is Commission hearing number 171 of Thursday, 17th June 2021, in case 177 Gilbert Kilendo, case 40 Attila Bote, and case 293 Julita Belpesh.
Thank you. Can you please call the next witness?
Nicole Gabriel.
Professionnellement, vous dites la vérité, c'est la vérité, rien que la vérité, qui va dire moi. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel, for appearing before the Commission today. We're very grateful to have you. Thank you for coming. Please sit here. So
Thank you for having
we
me.
understand that you're going to give us some context evidence, in particular about the internal 1986
Yes.
coup. So
That's
we're
right.
very interested to hear what
Indeed,
you have to
indeed,
tell
yes.
us. So thank you very much for coming, and the floor is
It's
yours.
my pleasure
Thank
to be
you.
here. Yes. Good. Yes, thank you. Now, ça, l'événement, septembre 1986. Yes. IN, qui forme partie de l'histoire. Seulement, on n'a pas beaucoup de monde qui ne vraiment connaît exactement qui est arrivé à Zo le 4 septembre 1986. C'est un événement qui c'est une possibilité que ça va sans que l'histoire Cécile. C'est une réussite. Bon, pour revoir un peu le contexte historique, moi, je retourne Cécile en août 1986. Après l'étude Grenoble, la France, moi, j'ai fait l'étude de la loi en France avec un master's. Et les montis tournés, moi, j'ai gagné au fait un job dans le Ministry of External Affairs and Planning, ça s'appelle ça les temps. Et comme un second secretary, moi, j'ai aussi une certaine responsabilité pour le protocole. En effet, tous les officiers ministères, ça les temps. Ils ont fait une rotation dans le protocole. Et mon rotation, effectivement, c'est tombe donc la fin août, commencement septembre. Et ça les temps, nous n'avons pas un ministre. À cause du Dr. Ferrari, qui était le dernier ministre, qui a démissionné en 84, 10 ans avant. Et le président René était sous le ministère of External Affairs and Planning. Madame Danielle de Saint-Jean, c'était nos pièces. Après, il y en a deux directeurs, M. Calix Dauphin, pour External Affairs, et M. Manuel Faure, était directeur pour Planning. Bon, le 29 août 1986, le président René s'est embarqué pour une mission Zimbabwe. En effet, sommet non-aligned, 6e sommet non-aligned, je peux rien faire là-bas. Et il était accompagné par une délégation. Il y en a Mme de Saint-Jean lui-même, M. Calix Dauphin, M. Claude Morel, qui était son chef protocole. Et il y en a Mme Géva René, M. Francis Savi, avec un deux cas, je ne pas trop rappeler les questions. Et au cours de son visite Zimbabwe, il y en a l'intention, en fait, il a fixé une visite officielle dans le pays voisin. Je me rappelle qu'il y a une visite officielle que tu pourrais faire Mozambique. Et Mozambique, M. Samra Machel, qui est président à l'état, premier président de Mozambique, qui invite lui. Encore, il y a un rapport proche entre Frélimo et moi avec le parti au pouvoir, la TSUPF. Et ça, c'est pour faire, juste après le sommet fini, Zimbabwe, le 6 septembre. Mais évidemment, pas jamais arrivé. Après, le président Machel lui-même, il est mort d'un accident d'avion, 100 mois après. L'autre visite officielle qu'il faut faire, c'était en Tanzanie. Le président Ali Hassan Mwinyi, qui a électé après, qui président Nyerere, qui donne vital comme président en 85. Et dernière visite officielle après le sommet, c'est pour faire Kenya. Kenya, peut-être c'est pour visite plus importante pour le président, à cause Kenya, et que c'est pas une bonne relation à l'État. Vice-constance, certains ministres dans le gouvernement président Moïse, qui sont impliqués, demandent plusieurs attentats.
Yeah, I missed that. Which was the most important visit?
Yes.
In Kenya. You forgot to tell me that bit.
Yes. Oui. Et donc, sa visite peut-être c'est pour faire pour rétablir sa relation. Qui est détériorée un peu le temps, mais là encore, pas n'arriver. Bon, nous retournons au Zimbabwe présent. C'est dans sa sommet, tu commences le 1er septembre, tu finis le 6 septembre. Quand tu fais le communiqué final. Et le président, tu peux retourner dans le pays le 18 septembre. Et nous sommes informés. Le 4 septembre, après-midi, mon petit dans le ministère, et dans 3h30, le téléphone qui sonnait. Et mon prend, c'est au commissaire Len, ambassadeur Chandrasekhar Das Gupta, et il informe moi que le président peut arriver son soir, 8h20, à bord Airbus privé Rajiv Gandhi, Premier ministre Rajiv Gandhi. Et évidemment, c'est une surprise à cause.
So how was he getting back? Sorry?
Yeah, on board the private aircraft, an Airbus, of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi.
Did the ambassador say why he was coming back?
No, he said he got a cable from New Delhi to inform him that the representative was coming. So he thought it best to advise the Minister of Foreign Affairs, which is proper for him. And at the same time, en même moment, le président est absent. Il donne instruction au ministre de la Défense, M. Ogilvy, lui, pour les responsables external relations, bien sûr, mais en général, tout bon contact, bonne directive, nous avons demandé pour contacter M. Bellu. Ogilvy Bellu.
Qui sont
Minister of Youth and Defense.
Minister of Youth and Defense.
Yes. Donc, M. Bellu souhaitait un de facto leader de l'absence du président René. Donc, tous nos contacts, c'était à travers lui. Et par exemple, il y a un chef d'État ou chef de gouvernement qui passe en transit par Zimbabwe, c'est arrêté ici. Ça pour refuel, ça pour passer un moment de détente. Je me rappelle bien, il y a un premier ministre Malaisie, Mahathir Mohamad, qui vient en transit, et qui fait une nuit. Et c'est tout dans les rois Népal, les rois Bihendra, avec son famille, qui vient ici. Et il fait 2 ou 3 jours. C'est l'hôtel Équateur, nous organisons dîner pour lui. Malheureusement, après, lui-même, il a massacré par son propre garçon, en l'an 2000. Et la famille entière a été tuée. So, voilà pour l'histoire. Et après, quand l'ambassadeur, le commissaire, mon call le ministre Bellu, il est au courant que le président peut venir. Et apparemment, il n'est pas toujours au courant. Mais tout de même, il dit merci beaucoup. Ils m'ont fait l'arrangement pour un officier, gouvernement, à l'époque. Donc, ça étant obligatoire, le président peut travel pendant une dignité, ministre, ambassadeur, membre du comité central, qui s'y offre, après que je vois les tourner.
Who would these people be? The ambassadors had to be there to receive.
Yes.
The ambassadors of other countries, or
Yes, ambassadors based in Seychelles.
they all had to come to the airport when he
yes.
was coming back.
Yes, they're not obliged, but you need to, by courtesy, you need to inform them that the president will be leaving or arriving. And usually they all come. There were not many, about 6, I believe.
But what would happen to you if you didn't come? if you were an ambassador and you were told the president's coming back? Did you have to go to the airport?
Yes,
You had to.
yes.
And what happened if I didn't? Would I be?
Well, nothing, but
Nothing?
it's a courtesy, diplomatic courtesy.
Uh-huh.
You have to,
Right.
unless
Never heard
there's a
of
reason not to
Yeah.
be there.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And I spoke to Mr. Faure, who was the acting PS, by the way, Mr. Emmanuel Faure, and to inform him about the imminent arrival of the president. Et mon point contact avec ban ministre, ambassador, mon CC members. CC members, that's the members of the Central Committee of the SPPF. And they confirmed the deal pour présent. Et moi, je cause avec M. James Michel, c'est un petit ministre de l'éducation, moi, quoi, et tu confirmes son présence, et ainsi de suite. Bon, et pour autre, moi, tu arrives dans 7 heures du soir. Fait, il y a un temps avant qu'il y ait quelque chose il y en ordre. La plupart sont invités. Tu arrives dans 7h30 en montant. L'autre dans le VIP Lounge. Il y a un service de drinks. M. Michel parti là, c'est moi. Il n'est pas venu. Et M. B, lui, il est arrivé dans 8h moins 5h. Dans un loto blindé, un Toyota Carina, numéro 3094, moi, bébé, un loto. Ce qui était impressionnant, côté aéroport, c'était pour une quantité de soldats. En effet, ça l'est en soldats, pas tout, c'est quelque chose de normal. C'est moi ça, du côté aéroport. Il y en a plus que l'habitude. Il y en a soldats, le roof, VIP lounge. Il y en a pas en bas. Bon, moi, tiens, question de sécurité, donc, je ne pas pose question que le président de soldat. Il y en a un des majors dans l'armée. Tu viens avec M. BL et tout. Enfin, c'est un lancement protocolaire normal. Cependant, dans 8 heures, un staff Sky chef écrit-moi. Il dit moi, il y a un call pour moi. Ça donne ça par mobile. Donc, vous pouvez venir ça du monde au point call. Par exemple, il prend sa call. Et M. Lalande, qui est le téléphone, il dit moi qui. Mon supérieur est dans le control tower, ça là. Il dit moi qui avion pu arriver dans 8h20, mais seulement une grande instruction qui existe moi avec le capitaine David Savy qui parle à bord. On dit OK. Nous espérons avion venir. Et évidemment, moi informe M. lui, qui m'ont supérieur. Il dit OK, pas de problème, on va là bord, je vais au président. L'avion est arrivé 8h20 sharp, mais l'avion pas venu, normalement, mon flight international est venu. Pas tout, la côte VIP Lounge, côte Arrival Lounge. L'avion continue la route, et il y a le parc, côte Domestic Terminal. Por exemple, côte Domestic Terminal, moi, avec le capitaine Savy, nous avons assez pour nous rejoindre l'avion qui était là-bas.
Qui terminal ça?
Domestic.
Domestic.
So, nous arrivons, un bon petit distance, nous arrivons. So, avion in parc, nous vais la porte avion, nous mettons l'escalier, et le capitaine Savy dit, moi, il y avait en premier, il m'a dit, OK. Donc, il montait, on monte suivre derrière. Et arrivant dans l'avion, capitaine Savy a directement causé le président, c'est précisé. Il était visiblement un peu concerné. Il était enfin, un petit peu rouillé ou quoi, mais il était un des monde qui était concerné. Après, moi, remarque présence les autres membres de délégation qui se précisaient aussi. Mon attend à peu près 15 minutes. Après, le président il est levé. Il vient côté moi. Il dit, moi, ben, attrape mon petit sac. Il tient un petit sac avec lui. Pas un briefcase. Et mon prend son briefcase. Il dit, moi, ben, on descend. Passe devant. On dit, OK. Protocolairement, il est correct. Hein? Mon descend, il vient par derrière. L'on arrive en bas, au tarmac. On voit un Jeep in park. Un Jeep, moi, bien son numéro, c'est S1938. Un Jeep américain, Cherokee ou something. Volant côté gauche. Et il y en a M. Claude Vidot qui est le volant. Ça était mon quoi, c'est major. Et puis, pas trop, mon remarque présence M. Bob Nodin aussi, dans environ, de ce soir. M. Bob Nodin, Robert Nodin.
Il passe dans sa loto, lui.
Non, it's somewhere around.
What was the name, Mr.
Bob Nodin.
Bob
Nodin.
That was the mercenary trainer guy.
He was training the army at the time, yes. So, mon vers la porte, Jeep, présent, m'a dit présent, entrer, m'a donné son petit sac, son briefcase. On ferme la porte. Jeep pas bougé, les problèmes sont partout, ils prennent dans la porte, présent. Vous voulez la porte bien fermée pour nous. On a besoin de rouvrir la porte refermée pour que Jeep puisse bouger pour y aller. Évidemment, je tenais à aller, je passe derrière le domestique, je tenais à aller, et à un moment là, on espère les autres membres de délégation pour descendre l'avion, pour nous accueillir VIP Lounge. Bien que ce soit remarquable, le domestique terminal aussi, c'est un groupe soldat. L'important c'est un groupe de VIP. Et encore, pour moi, c'est une question de sécurité. L'avion arrive là, mais moi, on est dans la communication de ça des groupes, mais il va pas avec moi. Mais aussi, donc, il peut aller à l'autre groupe, aussi, il ne suit pas derrière. Nous avons le code VIP Lounge avec les autres membres. Madame Sergio, puis demande-moi qui peut arriver. On m'a dit, bien, madame, moi, je ne sais pas. Enfin, code VIP Lounge, nous avons besoin d'expliquer à du monde qui peut se faire président à cause du président. Pas là. Et mon père m'a dit, la possibilité, c'est peut-être de président pas sentir bien, tout ça. Mais encore, pas si facile. Pour expliquer à l'ambassadeur qui vient là pour un président, il vient là. C'est moi, personne ne pose plus de questions. Et mon dit avec le ministre lui, il m'a dit, le président, il est allé. Il m'a dit, OK. Il embarque dans son auto, il est allé. Et les autres soldats aussi nous suivent aller. Bon. Pour l'instant, nous avons assisé ensemble avec le commissaire indien. Et nous espérons, on espère piloter avion. Pour gagner un dialogue, quelque chose. Et par courtoisie aussi, nous assisons ensemble avec lui. Nous causons. Jusqu'à plus tard, nous allons. Oui, ça qui est chez lui.
David Savi, il est avec.
David Savi, il est dans son auto pour lui. Oui, il y a un Peugeot, je me rappelle, S1986, je me trompe. Oui. On pas nous aller après. On va aller. Et probablement, il aller aussi. So, présent, son lendemain. Son lendemain, ou son 2 jours après, pas trop après. C'est mon président René qui fait appel, moi. C'est comment il est roi, moi. On a le State House. Et là, nous causons un peu l'événement, cause. Il dit quelque chose d'important. Il dit, moi, qui est sorti calme mal. Merci pour nous venir, ainsi de suite. Pas de plus de détails. Je dis, bien, ok, c'est nous l'ouvrage, un protocole. Et dis-moi, pendant un communiqué, qui peut sortir concernant démission MCBLU avec retirement ban major. Ils m'ont dit, bon, non, tout. On m'a dit, bien, ok, on va écouter ça communiqué. Effectivement, radio tient annoncé qui, pendant la démission MCBLU, après retirement 4 ou 5 majors à l'état. Ça, c'est dans le 6 septembre. Mais communiquer plus important, ça c'est l'autre événement. Et ça, c'est l'annonce de la mort de Mme Marjorie Baker. La radio a annoncé que les corps de Mme Baker ont trouvé dans l'autoglacie avec un coup de couteau. Et ça arrive dans la nuit 5 à 6 septembre. Mon corps, bonne famille, tu donnes des témoignages là. So, on pas qu'on vraiment connexion, ça dit, mais tiens, coïncidence. Ça joue. Aussi, même jour, j'ai gagné un call avec M. Fort, qui petit cabinet pour, by the way. Il dit, moi, qui sont là, quand j'ai gagné fouillé pour des armes. On dit, pour des armes, oui, sont là, quand la misère, c'est une soldat, une fouillé. Pendant un an, évidemment. Et c'est une soclée. Comme si un acting pièce, ça ferait un faire. Mais, enfin, il n'y a pas vraiment à plus loin que ça. Il laisse que ce moment y été. Mais après ça, il y a plusieurs causes, comme c'est un bon scénario qui peut arriver ça jour. Ça qui, moment de comprendre ce qui peut arriver, c'est qu'il y en a soldats qui sont pour shoot avion, les pieds en l'Inde. So, on peut connaître ce qui peut rester plausible, c'est le moment de comprendre qu'il y a un scénario qui est arrivé. Mais c'est l'avion, il arrive plus bonnet sous lui. Comme si timing, c'est pour ban comploter. Et l'avion arrive les 4 ou les plus tard. Le scénario, c'était pour shoot président, il a débarqué. Ça aussi une Gandhi. Et puis Paris, président Aquino, Philippines. Mon quoi, son année avant, comment il débarqué. Soldat, il fusillé l'eau, c'est assassiné. Mais voilà, c'est ça que soit l'incident, pas vraiment gagné publié localement. Mais le niveau international, c'est un des articles qui paraît. New York Times, Sunday Times, même en France. Bon. C'est cause à peu près quoi qui est arrivé, mais pas exactement en détail pareil, rien donné aujourd'hui. Oui. Voilà, et après, on continue mon travail, Foreign Affairs. Et c'est quand la Madame de Saint-Jean qui a appointé secrétaire d'État, même l'année, et civil ministre 3 ans après.
Qui c'est là nom qui un nom de Daniela, sa madame là?
Daniel de Saint-Jean.
Daniel de Saint.
Il y a une rumeur
Oui.
qui dit qu'il était un président René Tivini, il était déguisé.
Non, ça pas vrai. Le président, les civilistes ne sont pas de cravate. Et non, ça n'a pas peine déguisement. Et c'est une parution l'habitude.
Ok.
Oui.
Et ou en tant qu'officier protocole, où tu vois l'île normal qui président, pas une côte VIP lounge pour joindre une délégation qui vient accueillir.
Évidemment. Léon invite du monde pour venir à l'aéroport pour recevoir un président. Respecter le président, il est là. Mais évidemment, pas c'est quelque chose de normal pour moi. Et c'est là que mon gars comprend qui peut arriver. Pour dire, de façon sécurité, il dit, peut-être aussi, c'est pour approprier, et soit si tu prends sécurité pour lui sortir l'avion dans le VIP lounge. Et si tout côté avion une parc, une distance avec le VIP lounge, aucun président ne peut voir ça risque. Et moi, c'est ça qui est capable d'imaginer. Il préférait entrer chez l'exil plutôt qu'à recevoir un bon ministre, ambassadeur.
Et dans la conversation qui a gagné, il y a quelques jours, il y a une cause là, ça peut manqué, qui peut arriver.
Non, il préférait garder silence là. Et nous ne pensons jamais vraiment cause là après. Et forcément, il mentionne avec M. Mankam. Et M. Mankam, évidemment, tu viens m'a dit oui, c'est arrivé, c'est un incident. Donc, il ne fait rien tout détail. Il va tirer encore plus de détails.
Mais la perception, donc, c'était un coup d'État qui manquait, qui n'arrivait.
Oui, moi, je comprends. C'est un complot qui pas de marché. Qui gagne prévoir à temps. On m'a dit qu'il y a peut-être une agence d'intelligence extérieure qui n'avait été Premier ministre Rajiv Gandhi. Et il n'avait été président René. Plutôt rentrer vite pour les qui attendent la fin sommet dans la ligne. Et vu qu'il n'a pas de connexion avion, c'est le façon, c'est pour prendre son propre avion. Ça aide à 310 pour les venir à temps.
Vous posez cette question à cause aucun mazo aujourd'hui pas reconnaître qu'ils peut préparer un coup d'État.
Mais c'est moi qui ai demandé pour dans notre démission. Il
ne pas comprendre à cause.
Il a besoin de quelque chose qui n'est arrivé si soudain le président Giroud démissionné et ça pas en retraite. Ils sont partis en l'âge de la retraite, de toute façon, c'est trop jeune. Ils ne pas contester, ils plutôt accepter.
Mr. Michel, ex-President Michel, you didn't see him at all?
No, I did not see him at the airport, no.
I mean, there is a rumor that there was a, how can you put it? There was a tension between Mr. Michel and Mr. Berwi for being the right-hand man of the president and
Yes.
hopefully being president at some time. So some of what we've been told is that this was something that Mr. Michel set up to get rid of Mr. Berwi.
Oh. I heard about tensions between the two. I was aware that they were not on good terms, and I was aware that things were not getting too good between the two because one was the chief of staff and the other one was the minister of defense. So in terms of hierarchy, the minister of defense would give instructions to the chief of staff. And maybe that's where tension started. Both of them were quite young. And I don't know whether they came into terms after, most probably, as most people do. But yes, there was some concern, and we could then have felt about those tensions the way they were.
There's also the story that Marjorie was killed because her sister, Florence Baker, who was a police officer, heard about there was going to be this internal coup and told Marjorie. And Marjorie told the president. There's that, and then Marjorie was killed because of that, because she was seen to have foiled this plan. Did you ever hear, I mean, Marjorie was very close to the president.
Yes.
Did the president ever speak about Marjorie's death or?
No. The one thing that I know of, that Marjorie was the one who read the coup d'etat announcement of 5th of June, 1977. That I remember. But after that, I did not really hear of anything of the sort that Florence had told Marjorie about it, and Marjorie had tipped off the president. I heard it from one of the members who came here. I believe Joanne spoke about it, yes. And no, it was the first time I heard about that.
Did you know that everyone's phone were tapped? That the president was tapping the phones of.
That I would not say no. I mean, it was common knowledge that most calls were tapped at the time, unknowing to the phone owners that the conversations were being listened to, and yeah, it was the norm of life at the time. Yes.
Hard for me to really comprehend that environment where everyone's tapping everyone's phones, and I mean, how was it to work in that environment?
You see, Madam Chair, at the time it was a one-party state. We had a lot of people in exile overseas. We had insecurity. We had, if you would, people would prefer to remain silent rather than say things that they feel about it. Because you have your job to secure, you have your business to secure, and it's better you remain quiet. And that, well, fortunately, now it has stopped. There's nothing of this sort. But at the time, if you would, it was a few years after the mercenary attempt. It was just after the rebellion. It was just after the assassination of Joao in London. So the insecurity was still present in 1986. And anything that could have happened was really not a surprise. I mean, because each time we hear about a plot and attempt to coup, something in the making. Some of them possibly were not totally founded, but most were founded.
I mean, the majors that were retired, how could the president be confident that they no longer presented a threat to him?
Well, again, they retired, but I believe there must have been some agreement between themselves and the president, or some disagreement, for them to keep perhaps the retirement benefits, the salaries, all the perks that he had. Mr. Rene was quite close with the Army Command, and I'm sure he would have made a decision that would not have aggrieved them further, rather to keep them on board, but at a distance. That possibly what happened.
I mean, we've read some archival documents which talk about the president not trusting the army, so building this people's militia that he could rely upon, you know, to protect him if there was an army rebellion, and that he put the militia more under his control than under the control of the army. So the ones that were left then were Claude Vidot and Tino Marengo. They were the two majors that weren't fired. They were the loyal ones.
Yes, yes,
And
Mr.
James
Marengo,
Michel.
Mr. Vidot, yes. They were quite loyal. They both had a camp to be in charge. I believe one was at Pointe-Laou and the other one at Belo, I believe, yes, at the time. Both of them have passed away now. Yes.
So really the Indian ambassador, in a way, he foiled the plan for the president
Yes.
to come back
Yes.
discreetly. Do you think he understood that
I
something was wrong?
don't think so. He understood what was going on. He got a cable from New Delhi telling him that the president was coming on board the private jet of the prime minister. And to him, it's diplomatically correct to advise the ministry about the cable. And somehow he was recalled a month after, by the way. Yes, I remember he was recalled. He had spent only 2 years. Normally, it's about 3 or 4 years. He went to another position. I don't know if it was because of that or something else, but it was unusual to recall an ambassador after only 2 years.
Wouldn't normally the president call his own ministry and say, I'm coming back?
Usually, yes. You send a cable or telex or something to advise that you are coming back and to make arrangements in terms of protocol, airport facilities, sky chef, and because I've been doing the job before going on studies, I was in protocol. That was my very first job as an assistant protocol officer. Mr. Quinn remembers quite well. And then when I came back, I went back to protocol. I enjoyed the job, really. And then eventually you rise up in the ranks until I became director.
The coup was in preparation, and unknowingly, you fed Louis and the others with information. We were not aware President René was coming back earlier.
He was not.
Yes, but when you rang him, you gave him information.
Yes, I gave all the details, the timing, the plane.
Yeah, so you could have.
Yes, I've been part of the plot. Yes, as a loyal officer of the ministry, you inform your minister what's going on around him. And he himself, being a good diplomat, by the way, he was. He said, yes, thank you very much for the information, and inform everyone about it. I'll be there myself.
Coming internationally and going to the domestic
Yes.
part of the airport. I mean, did that ever happen before?
No, it's
No.
the first time usually the big aircraft would not go to domestic. They would either at the aero lounge, next to aero lounge, or there is a new parking, but not domestic. Certainly not.
So when you went back to the VIP lounge to explain to people that the president was not going to go there, did people question that?
No, the only person who questioned was Madame de Saint-Jean, who was on board.
He had been on the plane.
Yes, but she was not told. And she kept asking me, and I was not informed either, even less informed than her. I mean, but after that I explained when we were at the ministry.
When Mr. Berwi left, did all the soldiers get down from the roof and everything and go
Yes.
with him?
It was very quick, very prompt. They left. There were some jeeps, I believe. Yeah, they all left within minutes.
And where they were located, could they have shot at the plane as it went on its way to the domestic? Do you have to go past, I don't know, the international section to get to the domestic?
Yeah, it was not easy because
Not easy.
where the VIP lounge was, there was a building that would obstruct any plane, actually. It was too far.
So you were told from the control tower that you would be the only one going to the plane,
Myself and Captain Sabi.
yourself and
Yes.
Captain Sabi. And normally would a much bigger delegation go to the plane?
Well, normally for President's arrival, the protocol security officer plus one attendant would go. Not everyone. They remain at the lounge itself, and they greet President inside the VIP lounge. But that day, somehow instructions came, so Mr. Lalande had to follow the instructions.
Mr. Lalande, he was in charge of the
I believe he was director of civil aviation.
civil aviation.
Yes, at the time. eventually he was promoted to principal secretary. Yes.
Shortly after this incident, or he had to wait?
There was a general reshuffle, by the way, in government, whereby the president appointed some young principal secretaries, and there were appointments of secretaries of state. Madame de Saint-Jean actually was one of them, Madame Simon Testin, de Comamo, and a few others. They became secretaries of state. And some young people were promoted. In fact, my own brother, I remember, he got a promotion to principal secretary, social affairs. Yes, Gélaz became principal secretary from the post of director. But my own promotion came 3 years after. to first secretary.
And when you told the people in the VIP lounge, and in particular the majors, that the president's gone, was there anything in their demeanor or anything that?
Yes. There was a kind of look, see what's going on, but no talk really. Just the body language speaks a lot, and they all left.
We have quite a lot of evidence that they were planning this counter coup, and that they were in touch with exiles in England, and we've found some documents and things, but every time we ask them, they deny it. They say that they weren't, and it's just a big misunderstanding.
This is very much understated. I don't believe a misunderstanding would have resulted in a resignation and a retirement, and so many troops involved. All the Indian Prime Minister renting out his plane to bring back the president. I mean, it was more than that, I believe.
Did you wait for the pilot of the plane?
Yes.
What did he have to say?
Nothing.
Okay.
The pilot was really on a mission to bring the president, but he did speak to the High Commissioner. We did not, were not privy to their conversation, but he came and there was a waitress, not a waitress, but a crew member, a stewardess rather, who was there as well. And the plane left some 3 or 4 hours later, around midnight.
When the president told you these majors were going to retire, you weren't in a position to say why?
No.
No.
It was obvious. It was obvious. Yes, I did not. It was a short meeting, and both of us knew what transpired the night before, so.
He knew, you knew, but it wasn't spoken. It was just he was telling you they're going, and
Yes. And I fully understand the reasons. I believe there was one person who said that when the president disembarked, he confronted the soldiers. No, it did not happen. No.
it's so much time that's passed that we can accept there's a little bit of difference, but I think what we find difficult to accept is that there's a continued denial against mounting evidence, including people that say they asked me to take part in it and I wouldn't do it. And we also heard that Mr. Michel had, when he got wind of it, had actually himself ordered army people to situate themselves in various places around Victoria without telling the Minister of Defence. The Minister of Defence got wind of it and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "It's an exercise." You didn't
I-
see anyone around when you were driving there to the airport?
I did not
No.
notice any extraordinary presence of troops. No. We see them often on the streets, but no, I do not recall really.
Quite strange to see two groups of soldiers.
That was very strange.
Yeah.
Because normally,
One, the domestic terminal.
yes, I on that VIP
the other
lounge.
group on the VIP lounge.
Yes, that was unusual.
Yeah.
So, but again, at the time, to me it was normal having, troops to guard the airport, the aircraft, the president. Until later I realized it could not be normal.
I mean, I can understand you had the mercenary attack. I mean, you had a coup, and you did have people that weren't going to accept
Yes.
that, and they were plotting, and there were many plans afoot to try and overturn the government. And then you did have the mercenary attack, which failed, and then you had the army rebellion.
Yes,
So, I mean, I can understand the context was
that's right. It was
fraught,
tense.
you know, and tense. And these
Yes.
people that tried to overtake in 1981, they didn't give up.
Yes,
Right? They kept trying to find ways. And then in the midst of all that, we do have some people in the military taking advantage of people and making fake coups to like out people as being against the government or
Yeah.
for financial profit.
yes,
So, I mean, there's an incredibly complex set of events that were going on, all the different events that were going on all the
Yes,
time, you know,
yes.
in the background. And I think for us, it's really important to understand that, you know, so that we can, when somebody comes and says, this happened to me, we can understand, you know, why that happened.
Yes.
You know, not justify it, but why it happened.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of people that were involved in the system and supporting the system.
Yes.
They didn't have much autonomy, and there are a lot of people that were in the system, public service, like Mr. Grandcourt, Emmanuel Faure, and others that were trying to soften
Yes.
policies and their impacts on
That's right,
people,
yes.
you know. So we have to, there's no black and white here.
True.
We're very much in a grey area, and I
Yes.
think that understanding that is going to be important for closure,
yes.
basically.
And also the context of the Cold War. We had the world powers playing countries against one another, and we were the victim of all that. We had a U.S. tracking station here, and we have the Soviet Navy visiting the port, and it was not a very easy situation, and very discomforting as well, because you wanted to be friends of all, but you can't in this context between the USSR and the USA. So it was not easy.
They were really enemies at that point in time, you know. But also you had the North Koreans here as well.
The North Koreans, indeed,
Yeah.
yes, they came around 1983, I believe, when the Tanzanians left. And they were here to train in the army.
Could they speak Creole or
No.
English?
I don't believe so. There might have been a translator, but I don't think they did. They did not stay long, by the way. They left after.
The president himself, he didn't travel much, did he? He didn't leave Seychelles much for travel.
Rarely. He would attend Commonwealth summits. I believe most Commonwealth summits he attended, non-aligned as well. He rarely went to the OAU summits. Rarely.
Went twice.
I think twice in,
One in Liberia, one in Khartoum.
yes, in Monrovia in 79,
The-
and then Khartoum. That's it. Only twice in 27 years. Yes, that's correct. And otherwise,
Someone else go instead of him? To the,
yes, the
Yeah.
foreign minister, yes,
Uh-huh.
or the vice president. Well, Mr. Belmont, I believe, one. Gissino, yes. Yes, there was no vice president at the time, that's correct. But a minister, senior minister would attend.
You still work in protocol?
No, no.
No?
I was posted in New York in 1993 at the UN as head of the Commonwealth Small States Office. I spent 11 years there.
Is in
Yes,
New York.
in New York. Yes.
Wow, that
Yes.
must have been a rich
Yes.
experience.
The important thing as well, each time I come back on holiday, President Rene ensure that I come and see him
Him on.
to talk matters,
Uh-huh.
anything, UN, Commonwealth, and yeah, that's yes. I've been doing that. Yes, for the whole 11 years. I briefed him on anything.
As an ambassador.
Still an ambassador?
No, in the legal practice.
You're a legal practitioner now.
Yes.
We need
And,
legal help.
I had worked for Foreign Affairs until 1993, and then went to New York.
Even though Seychelles is a very small country, in the UN, it's a powerful country because it's one vote, one state, right?
Yes, indeed, yes.
yeah.
Yes. And being part of the Small Island States Association as well, you had a powerful voice.
Group together, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
At one point, I was on the Constitutional Commission to draft the Constitution as part of the opposition delegation.
I think it's one point you have to come back to brief us because
Yes,
in our deliberation there's not much about that.
yes,
So that the time 1991, 92 until the new constitution. If you can take time to give to the commission for that,
yes.
that will be appreciated.
Definitely, I will be happy to do that. We'll fix a time to come.
Have a gap there.
yeah.
We need to, so we would definitely. I know,
Again, that would be
yeah.
an interesting time. Yes, yes.
Some handbook about it, someone's day-to-day account. Yeah, you gave it, yeah, Maxim Ferrari. It didn't sound like everyone was ready for it, right, from his account.
Okay.
It was a diary, yeah. Sounded like there was a lot of tension.
Yes, I think it's correct. Yeah.
I mean, if you would be happy to, we'd like to schedule you again to give us a briefing on that. In our final report, we're trying to cover all these important events.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a gap. We don't have much about that. We do have some people maybe coming later. Mrs. Toomey is coming, and then we would, and you could come. That would be good. So, you know, in a way, I'm disappointed that Mr. Rene wasn't wearing the sari. Right?
The air hostess was. No? There was an air hostess. She was in a sari on board the plane. An air hostess.
Hostess
Indian air
was
hostess.
wearing,
yeah.
she was wearing the
She
sari.
was, yes.
Yeah.
Mistook.
She was tall.
Because we have heard other stories of the president driving around in a yellow mini moke dressed up as a woman with an AK-47 in the passenger seat. Right?
So the kinds of things, stories that people can make up.
Yeah.
So they've told us, I mean, who knows, right? But at least we now verify from you that he wasn't wearing a
No, he
sari.
wasn't.
So our report will be a little more dull as a result. But still, we have enough. So thank you very much for coming.
With a
And
pleasure, okay.
Veronique will give you
Yes.
another slot to come back, and we
Very
really,
well.
really appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming forward.
With a pleasure to
we
be
really,
here.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we see you again. And
Yeah, we'll see you
now
soon.
you can have a nice long weekend.
Yes.
Except
thank you.
for if you're in legal practice, you probably have to do some work
Yes.
as well.
And Constitutional Day tomorrow.
Is that
my idea as
Constitutional
well.
Day? Oh, I didn't even know. I was just glad it was a day off. But anyway, okay. So thank you very much. We will adjourn. We will return Monday, the 21st, at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All rise.